Oh man. So I don't remember what I was originally gonna talk about. But I think I'm gonna talk about acceptance. So I was just about to start recording and then I saw a little skunk come by. And now that's all I'm smelling. It's a skunk. It's an interesting smell. It's not a terrible smell, but it's not very pleasing either. So maybe talk about acceptance. So yeah, when there's something in the present, right? Something in your environment that's pretty uncomfortable, it could be hard to accept that. And if you're in pain, of course, you just have to, move maybe. But what if there's nothing you can do and it's just like a smell, for example, right? Something in the sensory environment. What can you do? So I think getting curious about, is this really that bad? Like what is really going on here? Because whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, it's a sensory experience. If it's a taste, a smell, sensation, some sort of sensation in the present, right? And there's aversion to it. A sense of like, I don't like this. I don't really want this. This shouldn't be happening right now. Like this skunk smell should not be happening right now. So kind of just noticing that, right? Because that's the reaction. And just noticing that and maybe putting it in words. Like, this shouldn't be happening. I don't like this. Don't like this smell. Kind of just like noticing that, or just kind of noticing that reaction and how it happens after the sensory experience. Like there's the smell, for example, and then there's that label on top of it, which is, I don't like this. I don't want this. Doesn't smell good. So they're different, right? The sensory experience is different than the label that's on top of it. The good or the bad label. That I like it or I don't like it. And it's interesting when that's noticed, that view is noticed, how the experience changes. It's not gonna like all of a sudden, like, it's not like the skunk smell is gonna turn into perfume. Although it is kind of like a perfume. I was actually noticing it's got like something about it. But you basically start to notice more. There's more depth to that experience once that label drops away a bit. And it drops away by you noticing it, right? So it's not like you're like forcing yourself to like it. You're just noticing, oh, it's like I don't want this. I don't like this. This shouldn't be happening. And now there's more neutrality. But the preference could still be there, right? I mean, I still prefer to not smell skunk, but that need to kind of move away from it actually resolves. Just noticing that I don't like it and actually giving myself permission to not like it. Just allowing that sense of, I don't like this. It's like attention is no longer fixated on just that smell, just that experience, just that sensory experience. Now it's more broad. Taking in the birds, the sounds. I don't know if this microphone can pick up everything, but there's a lot happening in the sound field. smells too. There's a lot happening too. Now the skunk smell is not so prominent anymore, although it's still there. Yeah, there it is. But just allowing myself to not like it now, a bit more broad. But I also want to talk about accepting not just like what's in the present, but accepting the past, which I think is much harder to do. So how do we do that, right? Let's say there's something that happened in the past. Something maybe traumatic, just something not ideal happened. And maybe you were hurt, maybe you were the perpetrator of hurt. Basically, like something happened and it still comes up for you, like it's still kind of maybe eating at you and you think about it often, and or maybe you try really not to think about it at all. Either way, there's certainly some lack of acceptance, let's just say, towards this situation, this event, maybe. And that's totally understandable, right? If there was a lot of pain, suffering, hurt, whatever it was, it's really natural that as human beings, like we're so good at kind of, I guess dissociating. We're pretty good at dissociating, but we're so good at ruminating. Ruminating, it basically means like you just it's like you're chewing on it over and over and over again. Or maybe you're just totally ignoring it completely, but it's still there. Like it's obviously still there, and maybe you avoid situations that remind you of this, whatever it was. Relationships, maybe. So I think accepting the past, like I said, it's probably one of the hardest things to do. And some of this is because our minds are so good at creating meaning that, okay, this situation means something about me. What happens is a certain view gets formed, but even more than that, it's an identity that gets formed. It's a sense of, this happened to me, and that means something about me. That means I'm something, right? That means if it was traumatic to you, maybe it's like, well, I'm the victim of this. This is what happened to me, and it means something, right? Maybe it means I'm weak, or it means I'll never be loved. Just something, right? It means something about me. Or if you're the perpetrator, it's like, well, that means I'm just a bad person. Like I really yelled at this person, and how could I have done that? I'm just such a bad person. So the views that we create, that our minds create, have a certain meaning inherently about you, about me, right? And this is the sticky thing. This is really what causes us so much suffering, is that, yeah, there's a lot of emotions involved, of course, but ultimately the view, the interpretation is about me. It's always about me. So see if you can feel into this, like if there is some situation and just putting your attention in that view about me. And words can help here. Like what does that mean about me? That I did that? Or that this happened to me? And putting that in words is helpful. It's always something negative, right? It's always like a sense of deficiency, like I'm just not a good person, I'm just a bad friend, I'm just, sometimes it's really harsh, like means I'm just a worthless person. I'm just, I'm missing something fundamental And this experience exemplifies that. It just really highlights that. And then you try to resolve it by trying to do the opposite, to kind of fill that void. So for instance, if it's like, oh, that means I was weak or I was a bad person, now there's a lot of more skunk. There it is. Okay, so just accepting that, right? So it's like let's say it's like I'm weak, I'm a bad person, something's wrong with me because of this, and I need to resolve it now. And I need to ruminate about it, try to think about it, try to figure it out, how I can be better, how I can be stronger, how I can basically avoid that happening again. Try to fix it somehow so it doesn't happen again. So acceptance, ultimately, we have to really look at the narrative and just see that narrative for what it is, that it's a narrative. Now, it can be helpful to explore the narrative, but ultimately, we don't need to do that. We can just kind of see it for what it is. Okay, that's a narrative. It's trying to help, though, right? It's trying to help resolve something important. Like when we're ruminating, when we're fixating, like we're really trying to resolve something important, right? But it doesn't actually resolve. It never resolves, right? Rumination does not really resolve anything. Obsessing, fixating does not resolve anything. Because really what's going on there is the mind is just trying to control the situation. It's trying to control. And that attempt to control, to really avoid the feeling of the loss of control, maybe the fear, the helplessness. In that avoidance, it's trying to control through obsessing, ruminating, identifying, creating a story, a narrative about me, and here's how I'm going to resolve it, and I'm going to try harder, I'm going to be better. Does it actually work? Yeah, but yet you can see that, right? Like we can start to see that more and more, that it doesn't work, but yet it's so hard to stop it. So how we can start to unwind it is, first of all, like I was saying earlier, noticing the identity, noticing that there is a sense of identity about me, that this means something about me and I need to resolve it. It's really important that I resolve it. And when you do that, you're going to start to feel now more of the contractions in the body. You're going to start to feel, especially in the middle of the body, like the jaw, throat, chest, belly. You start to notice this like, oof, this tightness. Where like normally we're up here, we're not even aware of it, right? So now you're more in the body, and now I can feel this. Now I can just kind of make room for what I'm feeling, sitting with it. Maybe even noticing that this is kind of related to loss of control, right? It feels like I really want control over this. Like I really want some sense of stability, security, maybe. And that's okay. See, acceptance doesn't mean that you force yourself to not care anymore about whatever it is. It's actually the opposite. It's more like letting yourself care as much as you need to emotionally. Letting yourself emotionally care without needing to like jump up into the head and start to create stories. Like it's just, yeah, I really don't like this. I really don't like what happened. So kind of verbalizing that resistance, right? Just, I really don't like what happened. I really, and whatever words feel right for you, maybe like I hate it, I don't like it, this shouldn't have happened. But you don't let yourself, ideally, don't let yourself jump into, and that means something about me, and here's what I'm going to do about it, because that's the control that never really works. So kind of letting yourself not like it, not like what happened, not like the loss of control, sitting with the fact that you may experience that again, which obviously you don't want, which is okay. But ultimately, there is no control. We have no clue what's going to happen in the future. Doesn't mean that you have to like it, though. But you do have the capacity to sit with that, sense of, wow, I really don't like what happened, and I don't want that to happen again. And can I accept that? Can I accept that I don't want it to happen again? And that there's all these desperate attempts to try to control the future through ruminating in the past? Can I allow that? Now, this is true acceptance. True acceptance means you're not pushing anything away, including that if you did perpetrate some harm, and maybe something needs to be done. But sitting with yourself, the pain of the situation, the event, letting yourself feel it in the body, letting yourself not like it, noticing all the ways that the mind tries to run away from the discomfort, but not judging that, not judging the mind for doing what it's really supposed to do, right? The mind, in a sense, is a helpful tool, especially it's very good at dissociating. So we don't need to judge that, the rumination, the obsessing. We don't need to judge that. We can just see it, notice it. Oh, there it is. It's just trying to help. Now I'm feeling the discomfort. Now I'm feeling what a part of me doesn't want to feel. And you could even take it a step further. Say there's some event. You can kind of put your attention in that event. Ask yourself, can I be okay with that? No, right? You're gonna feel it in your body. No. And now you're just allowing that no. You're not trying to change that no into a yes. This doesn't work. You can't force acceptance. But if you accept that no over and over again, fully, unconditionally, like, can I be okay with that? No. No. And just sitting with that no. Expressing it verbally if that helps. Or really feeling it in the body, wherever it is in the jaw. No. And you see how you're not taking like some objective view where you're just observing, like you're kind of going right into that no. You're being with it in a, like without any separation. You're not like, oh, I'm holding this no. Become the no. Consciously though, you're becoming the no. Instead of unconsciously where it controls you and now you're ruminating all day. So really embodying it, feeling it fully, the resistance, just trying to protect you. And this is acceptance. Before you know it, there's going to be less and less charge with the no. It's going to take a while maybe though. I mean, if there was a lot of trauma that happened, it could take a while. There's no rush, there's no timeline, and you can't force it. Because that act of forcing it is actually more resistance on top. So hopefully this makes sense. It's hard to talk about acceptance. Because honestly, acceptance happens very naturally. Acceptance is a natural thing, I guess you could say. Kind of like if you're holding a balloon, right, and you let go of the string, the balloon floats up naturally, right? So that's how acceptance is. It's natural. So what we can do to, I guess, kind of help with that, to maybe speed things up, is to notice what's in the way. Like holding the string of the balloon is in the way of it rising up, right? So in the same way, internal conflict, resistance, unconscious resistance, right? That's really what keeps things stuck. And when we allow resistance by feeling in, and ultimately that's what it is, really feeling in, noticing it, acknowledging it, not judging it, not trying to get rid of it. Oh, there it goes. Acceptance. And sometimes it's gradual, sometimes it's very quick. And you'll never know. You'll never really know.